More music.
Thank you, everybody, for giving us a chance. We are Mole Music, and welcome to our wonderful show starring Mole Hugo, Mole Jessica, and me, Mole Ben. We're three musicians stuck underground, digging our way blindly through this career, trying to find the light. Are we going up? Are we going down? Where's up? Where's down? I have no reference down here, and so we got to talk as a team. I got to compare my sense of reality to Jessica and Hugo's sense of reality so that we can start to figure out what even is real. And this week, I put out a video to help people build a fan base from scratch. And let me tell you, it seems like a lot of people are thinking about this. Lots and lots of people don't necessarily want to have music careers, but they want people to hear their music. And there's a lot of people right here in this mole pod who feel that way. I do.
Sure do.
We all want people to hear our music. We work really hard on our music, thinking, this might touch someone's heart in a nice way. This might be a delight to many. This might make people go like this. Oh, yeah, I'm nodding my head.
I love that
for
one.
all the people
That's a good one.
who just hear the podcast, even though it's only on YouTube right now. But that'll probably change. Eventually, we'll.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
Put it on.
That could be a thing.
Other networks. But whatever.
Let us know in the comments if you would like.
Yeah.
And we should pay whatever to do the streaming thing.
We'll pay whatever. Anyway, that was awkward. Oh, listen, I put out this video and it was all these different steps that I thought that would, first of all, would work to help somebody build a following from scratch. And second of all, would be things that if you did them and then it didn't all work out, you didn't, say, build a following or whatever, you would still have contributed positively to your life somehow. So we're talking the first thing that I think was necessary for people to do in order to build a following was make music that could be someone's favorite music. And we, the three of us, have been talking about that concept quite a bit because it's a little bit of a stressful, ominous thing to be thinking about while you're making music. Is this good enough to be someone's favorite music?
Yeah,
but
for sure.
The main point of it is to think, what do the artists who I love, like truly love, actually put out? You know, are they putting out a single every month because it's convenient for the algorithm, or are they putting out albums? Or are they putting, my bias is showing there, but are they YouTubers? Are they selling vinyl? Like what do these people who have moved you so profoundly actually released? And make sure you're putting out things of that nature. It doesn't have to be something expensive like vinyl, but it's like if they made live videos and you first heard them doing a live in studio thing, that might be a really good thing for you to make, is live versions of your music. And I could keep listing things from the video, but
I love the last one.
I'm kind of interested in talking to you guys. Oh yeah, so the last one, right? So it's all stuff like that. It's like practical advice, networking's important, la 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 la. Then the last piece of advice is to get therapy. And that's really where I want to end that sentence, but I understand that's like also a little presumptive because it's not a perfect fit for everyone. Getting a therapist is hard. It can be expensive. And so it's like therapy or something that is therapeutic to you, some balance outside of your music and outside of your work that can help you stay grounded and have somewhat of a like peaceful separation from this pursuit of getting followers, because wanting to be popular and trying to become popular in any part of your life can lead to quite a bit of misery. It's miserable in school, wanting to be a popular kid. It's miserable at work, wanting to be like, everybody's favorite guy in the office or whatever. And it sucks when you're trying to get fans too. Like, that isn't the best thing about having fans or having people who consistently listen to your music. To define like what a meaningful fan is it's somebody who consistently pays attention to what you do and then responds to it. Like the best part is that opens a door of communication that's really interesting, where it's like, ooh, if I express this thing this way, how does that affect my audience? How does that affect people? And if they compare this album to the last album, what kind of insights do they gain into their own life and stuff like that? So there are positives to wanting a following, but it can quickly degrade into wanting to be popular and becoming miserable as a result. What are your thoughts, my fellow moles?
Well, my first thought is, how is the video received, to be honest?
Well,
I'm very curious because it's a very sensitive topic, and people often give advice in a way that feels very businessman oriented and not very creative artist oriented. And I think that rubs people the wrong way very much. So, of course, you're coming at it from a musician perspective. And I know you give that kind of advice very differently than a businessman would. So I'm very curious if actually people appreciated that and how that resonated with them.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head, and that a lot of people have seen a lot of videos about how to gain an audience or whatever that have made them very uncomfortable. And if a lot of people were saying, I got several comments at least that were saying something to the tune of like, this is the first self-help video about music career that didn't make me feel like shit. And part of the reason why those other videos make me feel like shit is they don't acknowledge the importance of the art itself, the importance of the music itself.
Yeah.
And they skip right into like the game of it. And I think that's really funny because I guess that means that those videos are assuming that your music is already so well presented that other people will love it if you just show it to them. And I think we've all felt that. Like, if people just heard this, if they just saw me, they would really like what I make. If they just got it. And I found, like, I've thought that my whole life. And in my life, lots of people have gotten to my work. And especially our band that we were in, Bent Knee. Lots of people did see us. But the career didn't exactly just take off from that. Like,
true.
And I've felt that way for all my releases. And in looking back, I don't even like some of those albums I've put out in the past, or lots of them actually. And so you can think that just showing people your work is going to make the difference. And I wouldn't say people shouldn't do that. I think that's the only way to find out. But it turns out there's a lot more to, like, how something is presented. There's a lot more to whether or not people remember it, retain it, and then become interested in it and it moves them than simply it being good or simply it being finished. And resonant art that, like, when you see it, you can't ignore it. It's hard to explain how that comes to be, but it has something to do with, I believe, experience not having those results. I think it's hard to, like, build an intuition for what is going to resonate with people without having made work that did not resonate with people.
Okay.
So
Could
that's
you elaborate
part of why,
on that? How do you see that?
Yeah, so my first, I made a bunch of albums in high school on like a 4-track recorder, digital recorder thing.
Yeah.
And the thing that I thought was going to hook people was they'd be like, fuck, this guy's amazing at guitar. And the music was really built around that concept that, like, I was the next Steve Vai, and here is this 15-year-old genius musician who is like Mozart level guitar guy. And you put it out in this, like, state of like sort of self-worshipping state. And then people are just like, oh yeah, you are good at guitar. And you realize, like, that doesn't matter to that person. And then you see another person like, oh, I'd like to take lessons from you. That was impressive. And you're like, nice. And then you go, this person, and nobody, like, is moved. Like, no one's talking about how the music made them felt. They're talking about your guitar playing and how they can commodify that, or, like, or they put that as like a category of impressive athletic feat. That's what happened to me. And so it took until like 2009 for me to start making music that was sort of about my life and about feelings, and not just about like showing like that I'm a prodigy or something.
Yeah.
You can see this commonly with prodigies. Their music is a lot often about, damn, for their age, how the heck did they do that for their age? Yeah.
But there's definitely people that are into that, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I knew what kind of music any kind of music can be beloved. It was just in my life, that wasn't my connection to my audience. That wasn't the way in. It just wasn't happening. And a lot of it in retrospect has to do with the music, the mixes, the message. There's so much to it. The presentation. And when I say presentation, I mean everything from the order of the tracks to your ability to hear what you're supposed to hear, like what's the priority in the mix, to the album art, to the way I talked about it.
What was it ultimately what you connected with in music? I wonder.
It was the most connected I could be to music at the time, definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, it's almost like, I mean, that's kind of the point, right? No regrets there, because that is also how I learned not just the technique of playing guitar, but the technique of empathetically connecting to someone through music, is from having several at bats where I was making the mush. And so in the video, I recommend people take a quantity to quality workflow where they don't aim for quality as much as they aim for quantity, and then they figure out what quality is from that. And then let's say you make 20 songs, that way they're like in demo form, and you just pick the one that you just can't get out of your head, the one that just like sticks with you. You're like, I love that one. And you take that as far as you can. And as far as you can is another really vague thing that I'd love to get your input on. What does that mean? Because for me, it's like this hazy thing of like, taking the time to make sure the mix is really good, but not too much time. Taking the time to make sure you can play like a live version of it, but not too much time. And, like there's a lot of gray in that.
Yeah.
To me, in a sense, that feels like a focus on quality for a while. Like making sure you push it to that next level. Because there's always that thing, of course, of quantity versus quality. But I think the opposite of that also holds, where like if you only focus on quantity, you're going to end up with a problem too.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah, it's definitely a balance. And I also think that there is just like a stage of making things where you need a big body of things that you've made. Like you need to make a bunch of stuff so you get the making stuff. You get your voice. You get you get refined and just making, and then like you can start with the quality stuff, like getting, like learning about how it can be better from other people, and getting other people's brains in like the drum parts you wrote, on MIDI, and just like being like not a like too much of a boss in those moments too, even if it is like this like really precious thing. I think from my experience, not being rigid in like collaboration settings and being like, well, this is generally the idea, but you are a drummer, so what you feel probably is going to actually be better than what I just wrote. And like really like leaving room for people's expertise to come in. I feel like that's like a noob mistake of like when you like bring your first album to the studio and you're just like, everything has to be the same way it is in MIDI, or like, I just want to recreate exactly this.
The demo's so sick, we need to make it like the demo.
Yeah. And just like, actually letting go leaves room for it to improve so like beyond your understanding. And that's like the whole point.
Yeah. You can see like that is a good reason why it's so hard to make these lists or these videos about all the advice on how to to do these things, because different versions of this advice are going to apply to different people. You know, if you're in high school, then it's like just you know, if you can pump anything out, there's nothing to lose. You just like throw it up, show it to your friends, see what people think, keep going.
Yep.
If you're in music school, it's like, ask your people. You're surrounded by musicians. Take advantage of that. Make a whole bunch of music for those people, with those people, blah, blah, blah. But if you're like us, in your 30s and a little more isolated, maybe you don't want to make 10 albums in a row that nobody cares about, so that you're good enough to make your 11th one that everyone does. You know, there's probably a different way to describe this quantity to quality workflow to different people. I'd say the longer you've lived, the more experiences you have to draw from that are useful in your music. Like, I think we all empathize with and are interested in stories that are similar to the experiences we're actually having now. So music that's about like, will they, won't they relationships that all almost happen or just didn't go well because of a miscommunication. I think those are extra relatable when you're in the dating phases of your life, or when you're, you know, in high school and you have a crush, you know, or like, just there's different phases of your life. And so that kind of music is super popular and resonates so well with people who are actively trying to find their partner. But when you are like us and you've just been not really thinking about that for a long time, now I want to hear music that's maybe about like taking out the trash even, or like death, existential shit, or just little things that I didn't appreciate. You know, I've been around all this time and never noticed that thing is really cool or beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Like
Things
when you come across the lyrics that are just like, oh, that is exactly how to say that feeling, or that's exactly what I experienced, but I've never.
For you.
Yeah, it's really, thank you for giving me these words, you know.
That's what you have to do. Honestly, if you give advice, you need to do it one-on-one so you can address someone where they're actually at. It's really like treacherous, as I say, the getting followers is treacherous, but so is making videos about getting followers. But luckily I was able to connect home by like saying things that are like real, that really happened to me. But yeah, it's gonna fail if you think I need to make music that's like my favorite music or has the accessibility of my favorite music, and then you randomly interpret that the way you think you should without any further guidance from a mentor, you might go in a terrible direction where you're like, all right, my favorite artist spent a ton of money on a publicist, and so that's what I should do.
Right,
Like, no.
Not that.
Not that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I also think you had help from someone in Discord.
That's true.
And you went back and forth with them quite a bit to kind of turn like a different list into this list and also go deeper in this list. Yeah.
I was like testing my points against. So I asked my music school, Ben Levin Music School Discord, for ideas for courses or videos that they're like anything you really want to learn about. And one of them from, I'm going to pull up their artist name here because I am very grateful. This is happening right now, but I was like getting a lot of really good ideas, and one of them was, how do you get followers if you're literally starting from zero? And Captain Biscuit Jr. says that was Captain Biscuit Jr.'s idea, and Captain Biscuit Jr. says, like, this is my situation, and I want to, they're making cool music and they want people to hear it. How do you do that? Yeah. And so I wrote out this long list of like, here's what I think people should do. And then when I showed it, Captain Biscuit Jr. was like, kind of like, yeah, I've heard a lot of this before, and here's why I think these things are easy to say, but not so easy to do. That really helped me gain some understanding for how it feels to receive this kind of advice.
Yeah.
Right.
And why I think a lot of people, why the video was ultimately successful in not making people cringe and feel really insecure is because when people hear something like you should network, the assumption is that I'm saying it like it's so easy and natural for me, and why don't you just do it? You dumbass, just do it. You know it's good for you, just do it. But it couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah. First of all, networking is something that makes a lot of people cringe, just like the word networking, because it's like,
it comes with the assumption that you're going to take, that you're there to meet people, to ask for a favor.
I'm gonna get some famous people to do things.
You'll find the biggest name in the room and try and connect with them.
Yeah, and I feel like I had like a really transformative moment when we went to NAMM and were hanging out with some other like YouTubers that we had like met online, but
it's a music convention.
It's a music convention. Thank you.
Well, most people know that, but
right. And it was like it really occurred to me in that moment, just like how framing it for myself as just making friends is like exactly what networking, like that's the intention of networking. That's like, for me, that's like what I actually would use it for, is friendship. And if I think about it that way, it's easier for me. It's like lower stakes. It's like more natural. And also like I feel like the like vibe I'm giving off is like more who I am, more authentic.
Right. And you connect with people that you naturally feel drawn to. You're not necessarily approaching it from a perspective of, oh, I know that face, that's the one with the 3 million subscribers. No.
Yeah. So true.
Well, you can't help but be influenced by like, oh, I've heard of that person, I've seen that person before. That does change the way that you think of the person and the way that you act. And if you ever meet a famous person, the odds of you acting just regular are close to zero, because this isn't a regular circumstance. Normally when you meet people, you don't already know everything about them or a ton about them.
Yeah.
And I think we should just kind of accept that it's an odd paradigm. The best thing to do is probably to just not ask for anything and not expect your career to be like changed because of that moment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I gave Steve Vai my demo in high school when I met him, and I mean, if he listened to it, I don't think that he would be inspired to contact me. But I have no idea if he listened to it or not. But when I gave it to him, I was like 15. I handed it to him, and he looked at it. He's like, "Great job. This is really nice." Looking at the album art I printed in our home printer. And I was crying and like so moved to meet him. He was my hero. And that was a very nice experience.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's the thing, is like we say things like, do this, don't do this, try that. But nothing is set in stone, and you're going to figure things out on your own, but you just got to give some of this a shot.
This that moment in particular just reminded me of a moment that came up in rehearsal when I've just been playing with Kit O'Ryan, Caitlin O'Brien, and Matt Freak, and Justice Cow is growing and becoming a band, which is very exciting. And
very cool.
It's so fun and so fulfilling. I can't believe it. I like literally jump for joy when we finish like playing songs. I'm like,
that's awesome.
This is so sick.
Congrats. That's really cool.
Yeah. And so Matt, the new drummer, and he plays other things, but he's drumming mostly in Justice Cow right now. He is like really, really music manager minded. He is really good at like kind of slowly building relationships with people, and like he's like actually very good at like networking in a way that is like friendship and
Thinking of ways to be helpful.
Thinking of so many ways to be helpful. Yeah. And like also, you know, like being really creative about ways to connect with people who you don't know very well, or, you know, like to make those connections happen. And I remember I was describing like meeting someone and he was like, oh, did you like send them your album? And I was like, oh no, I like never send anyone my album, like even if I'm friends with them. Like I just don't ever put myself out there like that. And I feel like that is like such a opposite training, you know. For me, like I feel like when I met Sufjan Stevens, like shaking his hand was like definitely like the coolest, and like talking to him for a second about songwriting was like my version of getting in there, you know, and like giving him my album. And yeah, just like I feel like I have a deficit in like that like mindset of putting myself out there,
possibly generally, but in the case of Sufjan Stevens, I don't think
that would
he would want
the right
you to hand him an
I
album,
agree.
You know?
I agree with that.
I don't want to be handed albums when I meet people at shows.
Me either.
For my shows, because I will lose them.
And I really don't listen to them, and I feel really bad.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
that's real.
Like what?
It feels like you approached it in a way that felt true to you, and not you know, not forcing yourself onto them.
It's true, but I feel like also it could be turned up a little in me when it is like someone I've built a relationship with, am like good acquaintances with, like could, you know, turn them onto my music that I'm really proud of, and I don't ever, you know.
That's an important distinction to make, where it's not like you have to become the new extroverted networking king who's going to a different event every weekend and just staying up late laughing with the celebs. You can just change things very slightly, being like, I'm going to be 3% more proactive about sending my work to people, or like mentioning it in conversation, or inviting people to work with me on something. I'm just going to be 3% more active, and that can go a long way.
That's true.
You don't necessarily need to
turn
the
up.
dial to 1 million.
No, I don't want to turn the dial to 1 million, honestly.
I don't want to turn the dial to 1 million, honestly. I agree.
Where do you fall?
Yeah.
I think I don't want to dial it up to 1 million.
Not to 1 million.
Not to 1 million.
No. That's pushing it. But I think that's also like doing it so gradually is also the way it'll stick. Like you won't burn yourself out on activities like that.
Totally.
If you really push yourself one day to go nuts and really go out there and talk like you've never talked before, you're going to be so dead the next day. You'll think, fuck that. I'm never doing that again.
Totally.
Right.
And you'll be like, how many dumb things did I just say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're constantly doubting what you say. Hey, I feel pretty bad after any networking type experience. And that's part of why but I've benefited so much. That's why I did all those collaborations with other YouTubers in 2020, was because at the beginning of the year we went to this NAMM convention, and that's where I met people, and we hit it off because we actually do have a lot in common, because we're all musicians, we're all YouTubers.
Yep.
And so that was able to happen. Also, the way I would do collabs, like I didn't know Paul Davids or Samurai Guitarist, for instance, that well, and I did collaborations with them that year. And the way that I did it, though, was I thought of a video idea that would have a good title, that would require very little work from them, but would also ask them to do something they would probably want to do. So like in the case of Paul Davids, I was like, can you just send me a bad solo? Because he's always like got perfect camera, perfect lighting, looks, you know, really like sharp, and like has cool clothes. He's always coming across super professional. And I'm like, what if I gave him a chance to do something shitty and funny and silly that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for his channel, but and so that I think was appealing, because it's like, oh, all I have to do is play a bad solo and send it to you. And then he went above and beyond, because he actually transcribed his whole solo, which made editing it so easy. and then with Samurai Guitarist, it was the same thing where I was thinking, we would like send each other instructions that were just insane for writing a song, and we each write a song. And mine was
right, I
something
remember
to do
that
with
video.
bears and baseball.
Yeah. That was such a fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Of those
we
were
both
really
had
fun.
a great time.
Yeah.
And I did like with Amy Nolte and Elliot Klein and just a bunch of other cool folks. We did the fakest shred collab ever. Like I got Broadway musician Aurelian Budynek on there, and it was easy to ask them because it was just like, do you want to record yourself at half speed and speed it up? It's fun. So anyway,
it's very fun.
That's a tip for y'all. If there's like some person you're like, damn, that if that drummer played on my music, I would die. It'd be so cool. Be like, what is something this drummer would really want to do that they just haven't had a chance to do because of any specific reason?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and the 3D art stuff that I do is helpful for that too, because if I'm like, I'll make a little music video for the song, like we'll write the song together and then I'll make a little music video for it. That's a cool thing I could offer Adam. We're already buds, so it wasn't like I have to think of something that, to make it worth his time. But one of the benefits of working with me on a song is that, we could make a video. I could do the 3D video thing. And
Yeah.
So you think about, what do you do that is cool in or out of music? Can you code? Can you make websites? Can you make, do you know someone who makes cassettes? Is there anything that you do that's kind of like a hobby or a skill that you have that's special that you could offer up that would be a good fit for someone? That's a good way to network, and that's what I mentioned in the videos. Go in there thinking, hey, I'm a good person and I've got lots to offer just on a friendship level, so all these people might be looking for me and not even realizing it.
Yeah.
And so that is one of those points that when I showed it to Captain Biscuit Jr. on Discord, I got a lot better perspective on how that point should be made in a video from that conversation. Because if at first if my plan was like, look, you just gotta network, you just gotta do it, folks, you just gotta, but specifically understanding why people don't want to, or at least some people, that makes it easier.
Definitely. And also like empathizing with how it can feel weird, and that I think that there is that like reaction to just the word networking. And I love the way in your video the background was splattered with blood,
right?
And it was just like that feels accurate to like how like taboo it is. And in real life, like I feel like it's normal for a YouTube video to be like telling you what to do, but like in real life, if someone's advice is you should network more, it is like blood,
Yeah. And there's that that thumbnail aesthetic of like 0 to 1,000 followers with this one, with these 3 tips, and then you watch the video, and they're all things related to like packaging and algorithms and frequency of release, and
which you do also mention in your video.
Yeah, those are really important things. But I think it kind of goes back to that first point though, of that stuff works when the music is resonant. And when I'm thinking of this music that's magically going to catch people, I'm thinking of a wide variety of musical outcomes. You can get really lo-fi, not like super polished mixed stuff to do this, but it probably should lean into the lo-fi-ness, and that's sort of something you can think about to all the people at home. If you're thinking like, what kind of music can I make the best right now? Like, what do I really want to feel like making, but also what can I do right now? Maybe if you're interested in making orchestral music, but you're going to be mostly doing it with VSTs, maybe you should try to make orchestral music that is specifically for the VSTs, or does something weird that you can only do with the VSTs. It's like an old tired point I make all the time, but like, what if you write a MuseScore album where you use the sound fonts, you write around the sound fonts instead of being like, I mean, even at the age of 35, which isn't actually old.
Oh boy.
But even at 35, where I'm supposed to be in the peak of my career or whatever, there's no fucking way I'd get an orchestra to play my music right now. What am I going to pay for it? No. What am I going to apply for a grant? I ain't got time for that. Gonna go try to beat out Nico Muley for the next you're allowed to play with an orchestra? Am I gonna go to a high school and be like, will the high school play my music? And then what am I gonna do? Work with a bunch of high schoolers? I can't even talk to them without getting scared. There's a bajillion reasons why I'm not gonna do an orchestral piece right now. So maybe
and you just
I
need
could
to
do something
network with
else.
those students.
Yeah, I need to get into the high schools,
Come on,
all the
man.
high schools in this region, and I got to start handing out scores. And be
Yeah.
like, hey, kid, I see you play the oboe. What do you think of this?
Are you first chair?
Yeah. Oh, your first chair, huh? That's awesome. No big deal. Like, I'm cool. I'm not trying to like, oh, you're busy. Oh, you got to go? Okay. All right. Are you going to prom? All right, never mind. I'm not going to prom. No, I'm not. I'm just normal. Okay.
I think back to when you first were asked by David Bruce to make a collaboration video where you got to play your music, like got to be played by really incredible musicians playing really cool like arrangements, and a lot of them were like really unusual arrangements.
Yeah, Five Composers series by David Bruce.
And
Good
I
series.
remember it was so good, and Ben was really such a shining star on in that series. But I remember the first time you showed me one of the songs on MuseScore, I was like, I don't know, Ben, this isn't that good. And you're like, oh, from like my feedback, you were like, you have to imagine it's an orchestra. Like,
yeah.
You have to take what it is and then, and I was like, okay, I could see it being good. Okay. And then it was so good. But just like things like that where they're like not obvious, like.
And that was before the
fancy
MuseScore fonts, right?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Way before.
But what were like you were getting to something. You
just like how I think I just wanted to bring that up, and how like you can be really like active in music and also be misunderstood if you. I think this happens a lot in my music too. Like a demo version can really, really be leaving out like the things that make it work as like a band or as a song.
Right.
And you as the composer sometimes are translating that thing when you imagine the final version in the studio, or having different people play it, or different instruments that aren't old MuseScore music fonts.
So you're saying that's related to the lean into your circumstances, because sometimes if you're making something that's like too much of an abstraction of what you're trying to make, you'll understand what it is, but it won't actually translate.
Yeah. And so it's hard. It's like extra hard for like an audience to like, an audience won't translate it basically.
Right.
And
then also it's possible to have your music played by an orchestra without schmoozing at high schools, because I was able to do it. But how did I get that opportunity? By schmoozing with musicians. David Bruce.
Did you meet him at NAMM as well? Or?
No, but independent of his music YouTube career, I was a fan of his composing before he got on YouTube.
Way before.
Because one of my favorite pieces is at the end of this Silk Road Ensemble album, and it's like Cut the Rug and something with a goat. It's like a 3-parter. But I had made a video game thing in Unity to this piece, and he wrote it. And then when I saw his name show up on YouTube, like this, David Bruce is making videos now, I was like, David Bruce, You are elevating this platform by being here. What the heck? I love the name of the song. I think it's Cut the Rug because, yeah, I've listened to it a billion times. Don't necessarily read it a billion times.
Sure.
But it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, oh, I like your videos. So if I didn't make those videos that were very far from anything to do with playing with an orchestra, they were much more in another direction of living in a basement, typing working at a computer all day. But if I didn't make all those videos before, he wouldn't have had a reference point to be like, oh, this person has something to offer me.
Yeah.
And
Right.
the first thing I did was show him the video game that I made to his piece and be like, do you think they'd want to do a music video for it? But it was Yo-Yo Ma album, the Silk Road Ensemble. So that's a whole record label thing, and it's complicated. But instead, it was like, do this.
Yeah.
And
Collaborate.
this was the 5 Composers video. And then I did a good job on that one. I got asked back several times.
Yeah.
And the craziest one was when there was a metal one. The theme was 5 composers writing metal. And I was the vocalist. And I was just learning to scream and stuff. And I was the metal singer. And so there was a million takes. It was the ultimate Frankenstein takes, like,
Oh, wow.
thing. Luckily, it was a recorded thing and not a live thing. So
Yeah.
so I was like, that's the word. I. Okay, good. I try. Okay, I'll put a little delay on that word. I try. You know, just like
Hi.
really freaking out. We got Audrey,
Hey.
our new dog.
He
No, I'm
looks
just
different.
We're babysitting Audrey and Henry, 2 wonderful doggies.
Nice.
And Henry heard his name. Maybe he'll come visit too. But Hinani's on
It's a
the floor
party.
right here. And there was a spider at the
I
house.
thought I saw
just to-
Paul pop up at some point.
Yeah. To give you the Kai and Levin House Zoo report, we've got some interesting spiders. There was one that I was like, you know what, this looks like the kinds you're supposed to worry about. And I put that one outside. And there was a spider. I was in the toilet. You know, I was actually going number 2, which takes longer than number 1 for me. And so I had some time to think. And I was thinking about my life. I mean, like, damn. Every 3 seconds, I think, check my email. Every 3 seconds, I'm like, ooh, what video am I going to watch? What am I going to do next? What am I doing? Monkey mind. And then there's this spider actively killing a beetle in front of me, wrapping him up, killing his ass. I'm like, oh, man, my soul is the beetle and my mind is the spider.
Damn. I once
Nice.
Ouch. I hurt my life.
I once saw a very tarantula looking spider eating a giant wasp butterfly.
Oh. Butterflies are the good guys. Wasps are the bad guys, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. They got pokey butts and they'll hurt you good.
The album
Don't
art
like
for
that
Wasps
one.
is much more like the scary guys in Dune.
Oh yeah.
The wasps are?
For sure.
Wasps have the armor like the scary guys in Dune, and that's how you know they're bad.
Yeah.
Right.
You can just tell their publicist is not good.
If sharks weren't
No.
always like, and they with their crown upside down like that, and they were like, I think people would think sharks are cute, and then the amount that sharks bite would be perceived realistically, and then we would think of sharks as like kind of like fun. Sharks are
Oh, yeah,
funny.
they're kind of like dolphins, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
like otters.
I wouldn't want to swim with a bunch of random dolphins. I'd be scared to do that. They
I
can
know.
kill the
Right.
shit out of you.
Yeah, I know some
Yeah.
Orca whales.
But they've got good PR, though.
Experience with
True.
dolphins.
People love
Yeah.
dolphins.
And orca whales. Orca whales are dolphins.
Mm,
Did you know that?
I
I
believe
think
you.
I forgot that. I knew they were like they're fish.
I can't believe it. No, they're dolphins.
Okay.
They're mammals for
No,
sure.
Sharks are fish.
Sharks are fish.
Sharks are fish.
Sharks are fish. Dolphins are dolphins. Orca whales are also dolphins. That's crazy. And they're and you know the whole like, oh, orca whales, they don't want to eat people. They don't want to eat people. It's
They
like a
dang do.
they have culture. They have
Yeah.
passed down culture in their pods.
Yes, they do.
They might wake up one day, realize, there's other reasons to kill people besides eating them. Maybe we should do that. I feel like they're such sophisticated like planners, and they have culture, and they pass down wisdom within their pods.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me,
Interesting.
look up whale documentaries with their dolphins.
But they're dolphins.
I don't think it's safe to swim around with a bunch of orcas if you don't know shit about
Probably
orca
not.
whales. But
Yeah.
we're all like, Free Willy, Free Willy. I'm like, yes, but not me. I'm going to stay completely away. I'm going to be free from Willy, because I feel that if you were to swim in a pool, every part of your like body, that brain that tells you you're in danger, would be like, I am definitely in danger if something as big as an orca whale was near you, period. Even if it was a whale shark, which those don't even eat fish. They do they?
I have
They
no
don't-
idea.
Maybe they do eat fish, but they're very
I've
like
not seen
soft
these
and-
documentaries. I've seen some dolphin documentaries, and those are
They're-
fucking weird. I do not recommend.
Yeah. Are they like kinda
People
like
did some weird
sexy
shit
or-
with dolphins in the 70s,
Yeah.
80s, and
Gotcha.
LSD
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, pass.
I do
That's
know
not
it.
for this show. We're gonna get flagged
Yeah.
probably if we
Yeah.
get into that.
But
Yeah.
wasn't there either shark or whale, or like a whale shark or something that they thought was extinct, and they just
Gray whale. According
Yeah.
to secondhand information, I
Yeah.
did not firsthand see this gray whale.
yeah. But
Sure.
apparently they thought they were all dead, and then the one showed up.
Whale. If we aren't
Surprise.
off topic again. We should call this the Whale Music Podcast, because we're supposed to be talking about moles, but they are
Well,
mammals.
damn.
Mm.
Whale, damn. Whale. If it isn't, Doctor.
Ooh, how's that transition?
Perfect. I liked it. It helped me get out of a potentially couldn't think of what to say moment.
It's
So,
time for show and tell. It's that section where we show and tell about
Yay.
something we've been working on.
All right.
This past 2 weeks, I have still been working on the album plans, and they're going quite well. Actually, I'm starting to write some stuff, and
Yay!
I guess what I should show and tell you today is that I have expanded upon Ben Morning.
What?
I've bought the
Oh.
expansion pack,
What?
and I've
No.
created a Hugo afternoon, if you will.
Oh,
Tell us.
Um, which is basically just in the morning. First thing in the morning, you work, right? We're
Yeah.
gonna get into.
nice.
I just
Yes.
That's
still
Ben
I love
Morning.
that comment so much.
You just
You just-
do it.
Do it,
You start first thing in the morning.
and then in the afternoon, where you're getting a little bit tired and poopy, you
Yep.
start working on the stuff that maybe doesn't require so much brain energy, like sound design, and doing some research on album stuff.
Nice.
So I'm kind of splitting it up like that more consciously now, creating a bit of a routine for the album, getting some ideas, some concepts going, and it's nice. Yeah.
You're ramping a Ben Morning into a Hugo afternoon.
Shit.
And then hopefully you hit the Jessica evening, but
That
Oh.
would be cool.
we'll have to see what that is.
Pre-production.
yeah.
We'll have to.
Let us know.
I have to try the Hugo afternoon,
Right.
And then see
There you
where
go.
we're at.
That is a good point, Hugo. That's a dip in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
tough right around then.
Yeah. And it's a good time when you don't, sound design stuff. It's easier to just click some buttons, try some stuff out, put some colors together, mix them a bit, and then, oh, that's interesting. I'll keep it, or
On
throw it out.
on the note of the quality to quantity balance, what are you thinking with these songs you're starting? Are you planning on making more songs than you'll use? Are you trying to like have the sound designy stuff kind of take care of that like process of weeding out the chafe from the clam or whatever? You know what I mean?
The what?
There's some chafe clam,
Isn't it chaff?
right? Chaff from the clam,
I don't think it's
or
clam.
it's a calf.
I've
Whatever,
never heard
you
this.
know, calf from the chaff. Go on.
So your question is whether sound design
whether
helps.
you're planning on making more songs than you'll need.
Probably. I think now I'm just generating a lot of ideas, but I'm consciously trying to make it more quality now because otherwise you get into, too much quantity, too many ideas.
Too many ideas to like start you,
Yeah.
and you need more. Like, okay, this is these sections of a song.
Yeah. So the morning is definitely like trying to construct a song out of ideas, and then the afternoon might be, okay, I need some noise sounds, or I need some modular sounds. So let's just mess around. And, quantity is fine there because it'll just end up in a sample library that maybe I'll use it next time, if not this time.
Click through.
Cool.
When you're like, I need a sound, you can just click through. It's not like you can ever have too many samples. You can spend too much time clicking through samples, but
yes,
it doesn't hurt to have them.
For sure.
True.
So this past week, I went through old funk records and I sampled a whole bunch of break beats that I needed.
What?
So that was fun. Now I have break beats that I can use that are nicely sampled and nicely cut.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's really sick.
That's really interesting. I've never done anything like that.
Yeah. Did you find that, like, many months ago you were going, maybe not many, but a few months ago you were going through Ableton sounds and separating them on like ones you think you would realistically use, and then ones you're like definitely not, and ones you're like, yeah, I really think this one's like my favorite kind of sound.
Yeah.
Was that a useful process now that you're in it more?
Yeah, to a degree. I think it was helpful to like start making pieces, but if you're after specific sounds like modular or breakbeats, like there might not be that many in Ableton unless you buy a specific pack for it, if there are any, I don't know. So it's like filling the gaps there, kind of, and finding the specific, what's the right word here? The most important sounds for hyperpop, like for example, you want some super sauce stuff, and maybe you don't have the right ones in Ableton that you'd like. So you make a couple of those. I'm not talking like make 50 of them, because then again, you're going to have to go through a long list of stuff. But if you have like 5 of them, then that's cool. You have a good starting point.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad to hear that it like led to it being like a little bit easier, a little less resistance in the searching process.
Yeah, for sure.
When you are talking about now taking things and focusing on quality, what are some things you look for to determine if you have found quality?
A good hook, I think. Minder. That's Dutch. Less, improvisational, meandering ideas, and more something that's like a concrete idea. Less stream of consciousness. That really helps. So I find sitting at a piano is really helpful for that, for me right now, which haven't done in a while. So that's nice.
You see, people, you got to keep it vague, because once you try to clamp down too hard on what quality means, you're wrong, So the way you just described it was fairly open. It's like, yes, there's this idea of hooks. There's this process that sometimes works, which is sitting at the piano. But if you're like, all right, for a song to be good, it needs a hook, and you got to write it at the piano. Obviously, that's not the formula. It's just it works this time that way. And that's part of why, once again, giving advice in a YouTube video, it's treacherous territory, but it's in the lived examples of yourself and your peers and the musicians you look up to. That's where you get your data on what quality really is. So yeah, like in your case right now, it's transitioning a bit from idea generation and sound design into stuff that is grounded enough, solid enough, tangible enough to be stuck in your head and register as a hook. An interesting, exciting moment that you want to hear multiple times.
Yeah, well, in a way, it's kind of like turning, because I love making beats and little sonic ideas like that all the time, but condensing that into a very simple piano melody thing only is really helpful for writing songs right now, at least. And it makes me more focused right now. So that's for now, the formula. Could be different next time.
That's a great show and tell.
Yay.
It's going to be so cool when your album is out and everyone can look back. It's like with the Sufjan video and with the live video, and then me with my, however many YouTube videos I end up making, just being able to look back and see all the progress. And since everyone loves us so much, it'll just mean more to them than the world. I just want to praise.
Oh, you got a lovely echo.
I want to praise the whole audience. I want to praise the whole audience for just loving us. We're your benevolent heroes, so generous and kind to provide you with Mole Music Podcast, the ultimate solution to your sad, empty, lonely months and years of life. We make your life good and our lives are bad for it. So it's the ultimate sacrifice making a podcast like this.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Ben? What's your show and tell like?
Well, my show and tell is I learned. So I was thinking, what video do I want to do this week? And I was like, well, one of the questions I ask when I'm trying to figure out what video to do this week is, what have I been talking about? What have I heard people talking about? What do I wish I could do right now?
Mm-hmm.
And those are 3 questions. There's other questions I ask myself too.
Well, especially now, because you're in interesting position where you finished your 20 videos.
I finished my 20 videos, and I said, if I make 20 videos in a row that are like exactly the kind of thing I think my audience would want, what would happen to my life? And the answer is, I like the videos I made. It's improving my business. I wouldn't say it was any like unbelievable huge leap in the quality of my income, but it was a big improvement. It was like an improvement that I needed. So all signs are telling me keep going, just don't burn out. And so I did my 20th video, which is the one we've been talking about today, how to get real fans or whatever. And then my 21st video, I'm like, what am I going to do? What do I really want to do? I don't want to burn out. And all I've wanted to do for a while is learn how to make little top-down RPGs with RPG Maker so that I can tell some of these stories that I've been droning on about circumcising God and whatnot. And that software is so much easier to use than any software I've learned lately. Like, way easier than Blender, times a billion. Easier than Photoshop, easier than DaVinci Resolve. I mean, it's
which one is it?
RPG Maker.
Oh, okay.
It is so simple and so bare bones that I was able to do exactly what I was hoping to do in just 2 days. And so I made a new music video for my upcoming album in RPG Maker and documented the process, and that's my new video. And so my show and tell is telling about my experience there, learning RPG Maker, and also finding a way for that to fit in with my video of the week. For creative tasks, it's a good idea to think like, what do I want to do? What am I actually interested in now?
Yeah.
If you're trying to finish an album and you're like, oh, damn, I got so much mixing to do, you just got to do it. Otherwise the album won't get done. But it's interesting to be like, well, I really was surprised because I listened to the new Justice Cow album, and there's this part where it gets way distorted in this way that I didn't think I would want. So maybe I'll try implementing that somewhere today. Like trying to integrate what you're actually curious about into your work will sometimes work, will sometimes help. And that's what happened. I learned and I had a great time.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm very curious for the video now.
Yeah, well, you'll see it in about 10 minutes.
Sneaky premiere.
Yeah, I'm a bastard.
I've been working on getting together many people, including videographers, sound engineer, producer, and many musicians to make a live in studio video film of Justice Cow live at Big Nice. And that is
Cool.
happening in a little over a week. And I'm really, it's like so many details and so many like organizing things that I'm not like super good at, but I'm getting a lot of help with. And I'm really excited about it. And I think it's going to be really good and really fun and special to just like kind of revisit that music with some new people and also new arrangements and express it in a visual way is really exciting. So, and then also I'm just pumped to have like footage of me playing that's good and sounds good, because it's actually like I've been playing in a lot of, you know, like odd environments where, you know, it's not like I'm getting like a recording from the board ever of what it sounds like. And so it's very exciting to collaborate in this way. And I'm also continue to work on the Sufjan video. I filmed myself playing some banjo this morning, and I have all of the vocals that I need, and I'm actually planned right after the live in studio. My brother is going to be in town, so he's going to stay, and we're going to record, we're going to film him and record him playing saxophone, flute, and trumpet on this Sufjan video, and get the final assets of like other people in the video finally be able to wrap it up.
Nice.
And I'm really excited to be here. I just finished my work also. This is like officially my summer. So
break.
that is great timing in terms of how much I have coming up.
Yeah, I bet
Please
that gives
give
you
me a
some
break.
mental clarity to focus on the album.
Definitely.
When people see Jessica play live, they're very excited and moved and really remember it. And so I think it'll be so cool for people to be able to see something like that without necessarily needing to be in New England.
Yeah.
There has not been a super well produced Justice Cow live in studio video before.
Yep.
I've done a few myself, and we did a bunch with Bentley.
Yeah.
Those are always like really helpful for audience members to get into the music deeper.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be so cool when those are out in the world. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
How many people will you have playing?
The most will be 6. And that's only on like 2-ish songs, like really like, you know, the chorus and ending of one song and like
Dynamic
all of another one. Yeah. And it also will go down to the smallest arrangement is 3 people, and that's just going to be piano and 2 voices. And I'm so excited about that one. That's really different than the album version. And it's just like, it's kind of like I'm with this crew that are all great musicians, and it's like, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this song. And they were like, well, what if we like reimagine your arrangement? And I'm like, oh yeah, like we can do that. Like, thank you. That's very helpful. So yeah, I feel very lifted up by the people who are part of this. And we used to do apartment session videos, you know, with like 20, 30 other people. And I mean, like someday when I get those big Nico Muley
Grandma cash
grants, I'm going to be making big arrangements and filming them. And yeah, like
I think, Jessica, that you can get those grants. you've
I think I can
identified a
too.
few to apply for, and I think you'll
Yeah.
get someday one of these grants will hit, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to keep doing this. And
Thanks.
I want to
think
do it
I think
too, but I
so.
don't want to apply for grants. But Jessica does
Yeah.
apply for grants.
I
She's
do.
got it in her. I recommend being more like Jessica.
I just am
It's a
like,
good thing to get
I
a
mean,
grant. That's for
yeah,
sure.
I feel like I feel like my schedule's a little more, I work part time, and I think that I feel like I have a little bit more time to devote to this, and that it will pay off because
Yeah.
of all the things I've done. I
Yep.
hope.
When you have this video, if you want to
Yeah.
get a grant to make more videos, it'll be easier because you'll have this.
That's true.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
how it
Mm.
works. You put stuff out there, you got a little more leg to stand on to figure out the next thing you're going to do.
Exactly.
Now that I've talked, let's end it.
Get us out of here, Hugo.
Bye,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you all for watching, everyone. See you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
As we walk